Together we'll live in the airgun dream.
Hi guys, and welcome to Airability, your regular dose of lead therapy. And what I thought I'd do today was we'll talk about the evolution of my competition 25-meter bench rest air rifles. Now, we're just coming out of the off season. We've got about 6 weeks left before our first tournament of the year. And I love the off season from about November till the beginning of March, where I can get in the shed and I can experiment and see how I can improve my equipment for the next year. We've got a lot of the low-hanging fruit over the last few years with various inventions, improved tuning, different barrels and things like that. And I must admit, this year, it's been the hardest year to get some, extra points or potential points out of my equipment for next season. But I think I have managed to squeeze some advantages out by adjusting some of the equipment and building new stuff. So I'm going to take you through that. And remember, bench rest, it's all about the detail. It's all about the evolution. It's all about trying to keep ahead of the competition. Remember, it is the Formula One of air rifle shooting. And what you did last year, everybody's going to do this year. So you've got to try and keep constantly ahead. So we're going to go front to back on this year's competition rifle. And we'll start off with the silencer. Well, I use the silencer because I practice in the garden. And the last thing you want to do is change the gun and how you practice when you come to a competition. And one of the disadvantages of silencers is, on the most part, they do affect accuracy negatively when it comes to the minutiae of bench rest shooting. So what I did was, over the last 4 years, I've been winning with one of these, a silencer that I've modified. It was a modular silencer, and each of the sections had air separation in there, like air splitters, some media to muffle the sound, and then a weight tuning system built in. Now, I couldn't repeat these silencers. I've got 3 of them because the silencer is no longer made. And I must admit, I owe a lot of my wins to the development of that silencer that I did. But I've always wanted to bottle that silencer, and I've done that with this. I've taken a donor readily available aluminium silencer. Obviously, this is just like a mobile phone skin I've printed off just to disguise what silencer it is and make it tie in with my stock. But the inside of the silencer has been completely taken out, and I've replicated those modules that were in my original silencer and slid them in here. So I would give this silencer 10 out of 10 for accuracy, 7 out of 10 for noise reduction, because it's going to give somewhere, isn't it? You can't have everything perfect, but what it does do is make things back garden, palatable for the neighbours. Moving down the gun here, I have a longer barrel on than pretty much anybody else on the tour. I started shooting these 2 new barrels towards the end of last season. I have my barrel tensioner of my own design and shroud, which obviously works well because I've been winning with it. And then I use a shorter junior cylinder on the gun. It does reduce the number of shots. I get about 50 to 60 shots out, accurate shots out of a charge. I've done that to reduce weight, so I can use the weight elsewhere in the gun. Now, sitting on top of this is my Generation 3 3D printed stock. As you know, if you follow us on the Airability Facebook group, and Tom Jacobs and I have been developing these stocks, and as you can see, I've now moved forward into my own style, and Tom's doing his style. But the core ethos of these, and the rules and the measurements and how we've come about these stocks remain the same between the two of us. So at the front, we obviously have a world-ruled bench rest legal front block, and this is all molded into the stock. And the stocks are printed out of a carbon-based plastic, which you basically couldn't print at home a couple of years ago. This is stuff that they prototype automotive parts out and stuff like that. And the finish on this, I'll be honest with you, I've been practicing, is absolutely flawless. And what I like about Benchrest is that it's like 3D printing and Benchrest, they're interchangeable. It's all about the detail. It's all about understanding how things work and how to get the best out of your equipment. There are no layer lines in this, no visible layer lines in this, unless you go right up with the camera, etc. There's no layer shift. There's none of the problems that you see on 3D printed stuff when you're looking on eBay and stuff like that. This, I would say, is about as good as 3D printing gets for me in your back bedroom. So anyway, this stock, as you can see at the front here, the cylinder floats in the stock. There's nothing touching the stock other than the block at the back where it's fixed. The cylinder is buried into the front block to keep the whole action low and stable. Just think again like a Formula One sports car. You know, they don't have big tall wheels and the car doesn't rock around like that, does it? It's low, it's into the ground, and it's stable. And that's what I try to bring out in my stocks, Tom and I. We just want low, stable, and stability means it wobbles less on the target. So yeah, we've really tried to exploit this stability aspect. It's better to bring your rest up and your sandbag up than to bring your gun up. It just loses stability. So moving back down the stock is actually joined in two places because the length of a 3D print, you can't do a full stock in your back bedroom. So I've pretty much got the joints as good as they're ever going to get. You see some joints on 3D printed stuff where you can basically get your fingernail in and they're wonky and they're bigger at the bottom than at the top because they stress them and they aren't using the correct supports inside. But this, like I say, I'm very happy with it. We'll carry on with the stock at the back here. Yes, it looks a bit futuristic, a bit Joe 90 Thunderbirds. But if you look closely, the rationale behind it is sound. We have, just imagine I could have cut this bottom bag rider off square so it looked more traditional, but the actual parts that touch the bag are just the same as a traditional Benchrest bag rider. I've just added a little flourish on the front to try and make it a bit different. So as you know, most people would shoot this without the cheap piece, and I've done a version for my mate Rob without the cheap piece and he loves it. But as I've told you before, I've got neck problems. I've got all sorts of problems, but neck problems, and I can't balance my head for too long sideways looking down the scope, so I incorporate a cheap piece. And this cheap piece, through multiple prints in conjunction with the scope, I've got the correct height. It's non-adjustable, it's locked in, but it did take 4 or 5 prints of this back end to get the perfect height. And because it's not adjustable, it's all stable, it's all solid. There's no extra weight of aluminium bits to make it adjustable and things like that. So there's a lot of work gone into this. This isn't about whacking something up on your 3D design program and printing it out. This has been a year in total, more than a year. Where are we at now? It's been about 15 months in total development now, this stock, and I'm very happy with it. So there we go. Last thing I'll mention is this strange contraption on the bottom. So you've heard of people who use pinch posts. I find it gives me a bit of RSI in the thumb, so I'm not a big fan of pinch posts. But I don't like those big AR style grips because we're not shooting those types of competitions. You need a light touch. You need to be able to finesse it. So I've kind of combined a grip and a pinch post together. So it's a pinch grip. It fits my hand perfectly. And this little like blob that comes out the side looks really strange. And people go, what is that? But it's the most comfortable thumb rest, and it enables me to transfer the weight directly down so it's not of my hand, so it's not disturbing the accuracy of the rifle. And again, all this stuff has been tested in competition and won. So I'm actually using what I win with, and this kind of mythology that I'm using to design these stocks, for me, works again and again and again. And no matter what stock I make, if I stick to certain rules, I'll be able to duplicate the performance. So what's in the stock? Well, it's my usual Anschutz 9015 HP action, and that's tuned by Simon Howarth and Ratworks. It just doesn't get any better than that. I've been number 1 for 4 seasons with this action. I've got 2 more actions. I've got one of the actions is in a duplicate stock as this, and it's exactly the same, and it's just as accurate. So these actions have been well tested again. You know, they've run quite a bit of tin between them, and I really can't see me swapping from a 9015 from Anschutz unless something amazing comes along. But I don't know if anything off the shelf would ever work for me because of the work and how personalized this setup is. So anyway, we have the Anschutz action. I've got believe it or not, I've just got 3 eBay biathlon lever on here, which just makes it a bit easier for me to cock. So right on top, there are very few things that I actually 100% get behind when I review stuff, but I absolutely love this Falcon Optical Systems X60i Ultra. It's the 60 mag scope. You can have a look at the review on my channel. I developed the whole light stock and this gun around being able to accommodate this slightly heavier scope at 1150 grams. And that's how good the scope is. If I've changed the whole of my arrangement, you know, to enable me to use a scope, and you know, there's a lot of really good Benchrest scopes out there, but this one, I wanted to use it. It's 60 mag. It's as crisp as you can get. And again, this combination is already proven to win events. And I stand by this scope. This is the best scope I've used on a Benchrest rifle. And it was well worth all the work to accomplish that. Now, on the scope here, a lot of FT shooters have scope enhancers or eye cups or whatever you want to call them. Again, I printed this eye cup myself. It's out of a flexible material called TPU. It's not the all-encompassing eye cup that you see on field target shooting. It's just enough to stop, you know, the sun coming in the sides if it's a bright day. So pretty much, this is my 2026 tour rifle. And as I said before, there's this one, and then it's got a twin sister. And I can't actually tell the difference between the 2 guns when I'm shooting them. I've managed to match them up that well. Even the barrels have the same cleaning regime and pellet preparation. At this point, I just want to highlight, I'll be using the Barracuda FT pellet from H&N for the 5th season in a row. Every point I've scored and every medal I've won on the Benchrest UK Tour over the last 4 or 5 years has been with the Barracuda FT. For me, it just delivers time after time. So what more do you want than that? Anyway, next year, I'm going, as I said earlier in this video, the gap between the top shooters is getting smaller and smaller all the time. They're doing the same sort of development with their guns over the winter, and they're making, you know, marginal gains. You never know how you're going to come out the trap at the beginning of the season and how you're going to compare to your fellow shooters after the work that they've been doing. But I've done everything I can. I'm happy with what I've got, and I have no doubt that next season is going to be even tougher than last season, and last season was crazy tough. Until next time, guys, you know, get out there, whether you're building a gun to be a winner or you are plinking in your back garden, get out there and live that airgun dream, and take care. Bye-bye.
Wherever you